Welcome to this quick tutorial on how to build a landing page complete with a form and a email autoresponder to your client, as well as a notification to yourself. So what we're going to cover here, if you look on the left-hand side under sites, this is where you find most of your lead capture elements. This would include your funnels, it would include your forms, your surveys, and your media library should you want to add extra media, though you can add media straight from the landing page. So the difference between a form and a survey, a form is just what a form is, a name, email, phone, maybe the address that you want to capture. A survey is designed for two reasons. Number one, it's designed to capture more data from clients without overwhelming them with a very long form. And the second reason why you would use a form also is for conditional logic, so that you follow people down a specific path based on the answer that they provided in the previous step. So what we're going to do first is the fundamental part of any funnel is the ad or the outreach method, whether that's an email or WhatsApp, a direct message. And the second part of that would be your capture method. And for this, we're going to show you how to build a funnel and how to build a form and connecting those two together. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to Forms and you're going to click on Builder. And to create a new form, you're going to click on this blue button that just says Add Form. You're going to start from scratch in this instance. And when you do that, it's going to open up your form builder. So this is what it's going to depend on what information you're trying to capture. So by default, it opens up these fields that everyone would normally need for lead capture: name, email, phone. And if you want to add, for example, let's say you want to build a page and you want to attract sellers. Another key piece of information that you may need for sellers is their address. So to add an extra element to your form, for example, another field, you're going to click on this little plus sign right here. And you're going to scroll down to address. And all you do is simply drag it into the spot you want to keep it in. So there's your address. And perhaps you want their city too. So you drag address and city down. If that's all the information you require, but maybe you want to make this required information so that they cannot submit this form without inputting their address and their city, simply click on the field that you want to make required. And on the right-hand side, you will see the address key. And what you can do here is you can make it a required field, and then it gets that little asterisk next to it so that people cannot submit this form without putting in a physical address. Let's just do the same for city while we're at it. And if you don't want to collect individual name and last name, for example, first name and last name, and maybe you just want one field for full name, you can replace these two with the full name right at the top here, the full name element, by dragging it in and clicking on these and deleting them by clicking on these X's. Okay. You can also update some of the coloring. For example, maybe you don't want this button to be green. Maybe you want it to be this little blue over here. The way to do that is to know what the hex code is of this blue. So a useful tool if you're using any Chrome extensions or any other extensions for that matter, or other browsers, is ColorPick Eyedropper. If you have this installed on your computer, you'll be able to click on the ColorPick Eyedropper, and wherever your little mouse cursor goes, it's going to pull in what the hex code is. So that's the secret code of every single color that exists. And that makes an easy way for you to know, if you don't have your brand guide in front of you, what the hex code is. So if I hover over this little blue button here and I click on it, it grabs the hex code, which is at the top here. So I'm just going to copy this to my clipboard. I'm going to close that. And then for the button, I'm going to click on the button. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit where you see the background section. Click on the color element over here. And here you can basically replace everything after the hash with the color that you got grabbed from the eye picker. When you click out of it, it'll update your color to the color that you selected. You can obviously also change the text on the button. By doing this, you just go to the little text element here, and you can write, for example, submit now, and it'll update it here. You can align it left and you can align it right if you want to. You can also change the settings. For example, maybe you want to make these bold. You can see it does obey the bold. And then you can change your alignment here. So this would be for your button alignment. This would be for your text alignment on the button. You can also have an extra call to action on the button if you want to. So a subtext that goes below the submit now. For example, submit now, only 3 spaces left. And then you can also change the coloring of that if you wanted to. You can update anything around these buttons, the padding, which is basically the spaces between on the top and the bottom and the left and the right, so that you've got some breathing space on your form. But we're not going to go into too much detail about how to design this, and I'm just going to remove that for now. When you're done with your button element, you can just click on the back button here. And if you want to create any extra themes around your forms, you can click on this little slider over here, the styles and options button, and you can change different styles to the form. So go ahead and play around when you get into the form builder. For example, excuse me, if you want to make these inline, which basically means it's a left, right sort of structure, you can click on that, and then you'll get a left, right, and then a full space, which also, again, saves you space on your form when it's on a landing page or on a mobile device. You can also decide to show the label, which is at the top here. If you take that off, it removes that. Just bear in mind that if you do remove the label, that you do have some placeholder text inside these buttons. So if I click here, you can see there's my placeholder text, which I can still update. You can change the name of the labels too. So maybe you don't want to say full name, maybe you just want to write name. And if we put these labels back on, you can see it updates to just name. You can change the background color of your form by selecting again here. Bear in mind that if you're going to do any sort of dark colors, that you want to make sure that this black on the headings, on your label colors, is potentially then maybe a white or a lighter color so that it stands out. So you can see there's a lot of customization that you can do to your form if you want to make it more on brand. But for the purposes of today, this is basically all you really need to know about designing a form. A next step to save you one step of setting up a full workflow to email the person or to notify you of a new lead is a handy little notification icon here inside the form builder. If you click on this little bell, you can decide to have an autoresponder email. You can also have an email notification to yourself. So for example, if I toggle this on, I can then change the subject from form 7. It'll obey whatever the name is of your form at the top here. So be sure to actually name your form. So I'm just going to call this one David Sellers. So if I want to now update the subject, I'm going to just call this one new lead from David Sellers. And then your email address that you want it to go to, and then the sender name, which it could be your name, or it could just be the sub-account name, which would be the name of the account that you're in. So in this instance, it would be Luxlive Property Group. So that would be coming from Luxlive Property Group to your email address here. And if you want to actually email them a acknowledgement once they fill in the form, you can do that by toggling on an autoresponder, putting in a subject line that would be appropriate for your landing page. So maybe something like, thank you for your interest. Your reply to email, so if they reply to that, it needs to come back to your email, and then your name here. Again, bear in mind, if you leave this blank, the sub-account name will be replaced inside the sender name. So if you want to keep it personalized, fill in your own email address here and your own name there. And once you're done, you're going to click on Save. So once you're happy with your form and it's named David Sellers, what you're going to do is you're going to click on Save. So what we've done now is we've named our form. We've chosen the fields that we want to capture. We've made these 2 required fields by selecting them and marking this toggle as required. We've also updated the button color, the text on the button, and we've also got a little agree to terms and conditions if you want to provide that to your visitors. So what you can do is you can click on, you can click on the form area here, and you can update this by replacing the link in the text. So this query's key would be terms and conditions. And if I want to update the link, I'm going to click on these three little dots, and I'm going to either break the link or I'm going to update the link by clicking on the little link button there. So this would be a good idea to put in for your privacy policy from your main website. Okay, so that's it. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to go now and we're going to create a landing page, a very simple landing page with some good structure, but we needed the form first so that we didn't have to do this step after the landing page had been created. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on back. You can see there's my form. There's the date. There's who updated it and created it. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to funnels. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to build a landing page. So a landing page is essentially a miniature website. It's also a website that has one purpose, and that purpose is to capture a lead. Now, remember, for your landing page, you want to have a single focus for that landing page. Because we generated and create a form designed to convert sellers, our landing page content needs to speak to the hopes and aspirations of sellers. So it's no point in putting in, if you're buying or selling sort of content, what we want to do is we want to make it very specific so that if a seller lands on that page, that they would see themselves in the content and that they would then convert as a lead. So to do that, we're going to go, remember, we're inside the left-hand side under sites, funnels, and now to create one, we can go to this little blue button that says new funnel. So we're going to click on new funnel. We're going to give our funnel a name. So we'll just call this one David Sellers to be consistent with our form. Click on create. And then this would basically create the shell for the steps inside the landing pages. So what we're going to do is we're going to create two-step landing pages. That's a form opt-in. And the second step, or the second page, is going to be our confirmation thank you page. So to do that, what we're going to do first is we're going to click on add new step. And we're going to give this one a name too. So this name over here is purely for your purposes. Your clients do not see this name, so don't stress about naming it something unusual because your client will never see it. It's there for your reference. So I'm just going to call this one opt-in. And your path is everything that appears after the main URL where the funnel is hosted on. So for example, it would be something like funnels.luxliveproperty.com/David Sellers. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to write a / and I'm going to call it David Sellers. And I'm going to create that funnel step now. Okay, so now what we've got is we've got a page where we can create our first template. So we can create from blank, or we can use an existing template that might already be in the account. So what we're going to do first anyway, for this purpose, is we're going to just create from blank so that you can see the different elements in the landing page builder. It's very useful to first click on this little button at the bottom here under the edit so that you edit in a new tab. It just makes it easier should you need to come back and update your form. But for this purpose, we're going to just click on edit in a new tab. So it's going to open up a new tab and it's going to start loading the landing page builder for you in another tab. Okay, there we go. So it's loading up. And what you'll see, it'll prompt you first for a section. So any web infrastructure has got a few basic elements. It's got sections, which is a full section of content, whether that's the top of the page with an image, or the middle of the page, or the bottom of the page with, for example, the logo of the business. It's got rows within those sections, which are either a 1-column row, a 2-column row, a 3-column row, and so forth. So you can actually have side-by-side content in a row. So you can see on the left-hand side by the section, we're going to click on full width. And what we've got now is a section to add a row to. So you're going to click then add row. And let's make this a 2-column row at the top. So you can see I've got column on the left and I've got a column on the right. And here I can add my elements. So your elements are all of the things that are going to make your page a little bit prettier and more user-friendly for the client. You've got a headline and text elements. You've got your form element. Remember, we created our form and our buttons. You've got a media section. So you can also use a video, whether that's a video on YouTube or it's a video that is self-hosted on our server. And you've got images. Then again, if you are using a survey, that's where you would find your survey element, maps, reviews, countdown timers, and so forth. So what we're going to do first is we're going to just add a headline element to our section here. So we're going to just drag it in, and it just gives us the starting text. If you've got a specific font for your business that you don't want to update every element and change the font, you can do that under the typography section here by clicking on typography and changing the typography for your headlines and your content. So for example, if my headline, and it does follow Google Fonts, so your font is more than likely here. So let's just choose Open Sans for our headlines, and our content font, let's make something that is like a serif font. So something a little bit more noticeable. So let's use the Playfair display. So if I put a content element in, just a normal text, it's going to be in that font. So to capture the attention of our potential seller, we're just going to create a quick sort of headline that sort of speaks to what it is that they want. So for example, do you want to know what a buyer would pay for your home today? So if you want to change any elements around, for example, maybe you want a full all caps, or you want the first letter capitalized, while you're in that text element on the right-hand side here, you can go to the advanced section and you can change your text from normal to uppercase, lowercase, and capitalize. You can also update the sizing of the text. So for example, if I go back to general now, I can go down and I can update the font size for both desktop. And if I toggle to mobile, it'll change my view to mobile. And I can also have independent sizes for either. So I can have mobile maybe a size 20. And then for desktop, if I go back to desktop, I can have a size 50. And you can see it updates as you make the changes on the right-hand side here. You can also align your text either justified, right aligned, centered, or left aligned. So in my opinion, this font is way too big. So let's just take it down a notch to about 40. Maybe even let's make it 35 just to see if we can get it onto 2 lines. 30. There we go. And then on the right-hand side, we're going to put our form here. So again, click on the element. Yeah, by form. Click on form. And you're going to then, from the form picker, select the form that we created. So we're going to just choose the one we did create, which is called David Sellers. And it's going to bring that form element now into the page. So you can see that the form is here. There's our headline. But if I look at this page and I'm on a desktop computer, the headline does feel like it's a little bit low for where the form is. So what you can do here is if you select this section of here where it's gray and you just click, it's going to change from the first column. And what you can do there is you can change the alignment of the content. You can see currently it's aligned to center. So what you can do, you can change it from a center alignment to left. And it'll bring it right to the top because then it's aligned to the left of the column, which is basically always top, right, left. And if you want to view what it would look like in mobile, you can toggle between desktop and mobile. And maybe for mobile, actually, I think a center alignment might work a little bit nicer. And maybe even a slightly larger font. So let's just make it for 30 for now. Okay, so you've got your problem statements or call to action, and you've got your form. Maybe what you want to do also is you want to create some subtext here, so a subheadline. So that will be now a subheadline to qualify the main statement. So do you Do you want to know what a buyer would pay for your home today? And you can write something like, find out in 5 minutes. Something like that. And then perhaps if you want to re-emphasize some of your value propositions, so maybe some nice bullet points that kind of explain what it is that you do and how you do it and why they should use you, you can then choose another element by clicking on the little plus sign here to add another element below it, and then choose a bulleted list like this. So you can have something like, 10 years in business, and then you enter a plus, and you can say something like, no more headaches. And then maybe one last one, only certainty. So you can see you've now built out most of the elements that you need right at the top of your page. So if we go again to mobile, we can see that we've still got our headline at the top. We've got our qualifier, and then we've got a little bit of a value proposition, just making our case a little bit stronger. If you want to change these little bullets from, for example, these little tick marks, and maybe you want to try and change them to a different color or to a completely different icon, you're going to click on that element. And then under the general tab, scrolling down slightly, you're going to then find the icon to select here. So you can click on this and you can type in what it is that you would want to replace it with. So you can click search icons, and maybe I want to just put in house. So you get a few pre-selected icons that you can choose here. So I'm going to just choose this house with the person in it. And I'm going to make the color of the icon maybe a different color. So you can see there by the icon color, I'm going to change the color to either some of the presets, or again, if you didn't find that your own brand color here, you can click on this little blue icon that says didn't find your color, add custom one. So to do that, again, here's your hex codes. So you can then use your eyedropper, and maybe you want to change it to that blue again. So I'm going to just select that again, copy it. And then here, I'm going to replace all these zeros, which is the hex code for black. And I'm going to put that in there and click on add color. So now my icons are a blue and not a black anymore. But if I want to maybe try the red, I can just change it by going back to red. So let's hit blue. The problem now is that I'm seeing is this looks a little bit squashed. It's got no breathing space. So what I want to do now is I want to change the space between these lines. So I'm going to then select my element that I want to update. I'm going to click on advanced. And then here by the line height, I'm going to change it from 1 to 1.3. And suddenly I've got some extra breathing room for my icons and my text. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the desktop view, and I'm going to have a look at what it looks like. Not too shabby, doesn't look too bad, but maybe what I want to do now is I want to change a little bit of this background color, or maybe I want to bring in an image element into the background of this section. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to again go right to the top here, make sure that you've got the green selected. And once you've selected the green, you're now in the section of this page. You can see the section goes up to here, and you can add an extra section should you want to. But let's go ahead and change the background image so that it makes it a little bit more pretty. So by selecting the section, scrolling down, I've got an option to change the background media. You can change it to a video, and you can change it to an image. So let's just use the image for now. I'm going to click on this little button here, and it's going to open up my image library. And I'm going to pick an image that's already in my library if I have one. Alternatively, if it's not in your library, you can upload a file by clicking on the blue button here, or you can just drag it straight in and it'll upload the image for you. To select the image, you're going to just double click on that image. And now it's going to fill the background of that section. So you already see we have now a small problem because our text is black and our image is dark. So what we're going to do now is we're going to maybe just put a bit of transparency behind this, this row. So by selecting the blue section, You can see I'm on the 2-column row here. I'm going to change the background color. And by clicking on this, you see you've got a preset option of a little bit of an overlay. So if I click on the overlay, it's darkened the background a little bit more so that if I change the text to white now, it's actually going to pop really, really nicely. So to change the color of your text, remember, select your element. And because it's a bold text, we're going to update the bold text to white. And then the one below it is also a bold text, and I'm going to update that to white. Oh, no, it's not a bold text. It's just a color for a normal. It's not bold. Okay, so it's just the color, and then we're going to update that. And then here by our bulleted lists, we're also going to update the text color by, I just want to check, I think this is a normal color. I don't think it's a bold. There we go. So now everything is in white. And if we go down to mobile view, our page already looks a heck of a lot prettier than what it did to start. So what we've done is we've added a background image to our section. We've added a headline. We've created a subheadline, and we've also built some bulleted points for our landing page. Going back to desktop view, always toggle between these two because you want to make sure that the vast majority of your leads will be coming in off a mobile device, but sometimes it's just easier to design and visualize something when you're on a desktop view, in my opinion. So what we can do then is we can actually add another section now. So we're happy with this section. This would be our lead capture section. Everything that we're going to do is trying to relay people back to this form. So again, go down to the bottom or at the top here by the plus sign, you can select sections and you can drag another full width section down here so that you've got now an extra section below the first section. So over here, what we might want to do is we might want to bring in maybe some testimonials or a little bit about us or how we do what we do. So click on add row. And maybe what you want to do is you want to bring in a 3-column row because perhaps you've got some testimonials. So we're going to click on a 3-column row. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how to create a column, customize it nicely for yourself, and then duplicate that column and then just change the details so that you don't have to keep rebuilding the same thing over and over. So to do that, I'm going to click on add element. And I want to maybe bring in an image again. So this is assuming I've got permission to use the image of my client. So I'm going to go down back to image here, and I'm going to upload from the media library. And let's say this little guy here is one of my previous sellers. So I'm going to put in his image there. And then I'm going to maybe put in some subtext for his name and what the review is that he provided to me. So I'm going to just go here to the subheadline. Remember, you're just building out these pieces of information here. You can see there's our custom font that we chose at the top here earlier. So now it's in that playbook style. So let's just call him, John. And let's put in a testimonial that he provided to us. So, best service I have ever received. Now again, John looks quite big and his text that he provided to us is quite small. So again, we can update the sizing of this font on a desktop from 14 to potentially, let's make it 18 so that it looks a little bit better. And then the John element, maybe we can make that a little bit bigger too. So we can just make it up to 25. And if we want to see what that would look like on mobile and we want to maybe make some changes, actually doesn't look too terrible on mobile. Actually looks fine. Maybe you want to have square images or potentially you want to have round images. So a way to change the image diameter from square to round is to select the image, clicking on advanced, and then by the image radius, I'm going to choose circle. Your image, however, does need to be a square. So it needs to be a square image in order for the circle to be a perfect circle. But in this case, this image was a little bit of a rectangle. So it was a bit longer than it was high. And that's why you're getting this slightly oval egg-shaped border around it. But let's keep it like this for now. If you have a square image, that would be the right size for your circular element. You can also then just round the corners if you don't want to have them too sharp. But let's keep our circle because it's not entirely horrible. Okay, going back to the desktop view, what we can do now is we can duplicate these pieces of information. Instead of having a build element again, image, subheadline, and text element, and then changing the sizing for each one, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on this little duplicate icon here. So I'm going to duplicate it twice, and then I'm going to drag it into that column. And then this one, I'm going to drag into this column. And then again, same thing. I'm going to duplicate this twice, and I'm going to drag that below and drag that one below him. And then, of course, our last one, which is our testimonial, I'm going to then pull that in to below John there and pull this one in below John here. So now what we've got is we've got our headline, we've got our bullet points, we've got our form, we've got our testimonials, and maybe what we want to do is have a little headline at the top of this, just telling people what this is about. So, you know, love from our previous clients. So what you can do there is you can go back to your elements and you can get another row and you can create a 1-column row and pull that in above these images. And then add an element. I'm going to add another headline and I'm going to just change this to hear what others say about me, so that it introduces what this section is about. Now, remember, if you want to update your images, which you're going to have to do, you're going to click on the image. You're going to scroll down to the image options, and you're going to click on this little icon. You're going to go to your media library, and you're going to replace that image by choosing the one that's inside your library. So you can see there's my second image, my third image. So you would just replace all the images as you go. All right. An extra thing we're going to do now is because people are, remember, they're on a mobile device. So they come here, they see the form, they ignore it. They want to read a bit more about you. So they want to get some social proof. And by the time they get to the bottom of the page, to save them the effort of having to scroll all the way up, you can also place buttons between sections that automatically push your visitor right to the top where the form element is. So the way to do that is to go right to the bottom, and I'm going to create another row, and I'm just going to create a 1-column row here, and I'm going to add an element of a button. So I'm going to select the button element, and I'm going to change the text, but I'm also going to direct it to the form element. So click on the button, and what you're going to do then is you're going to change the text here. So you'll see this is how long your items are. And if you want to change that to, instead of click to sign up, something like, I want to find out more. And again, you can change the color of the button by going to the top, going to the background color element. And because we've already added that color to our library, we don't need to go and do the color picker again. We're going to just click on this blue, and it's going to update this color to the blue that we chose. Play with a bit of the text shadows and the spacing if you want to. You can also add icons to the start of the button or to the end of the button. But for this purpose, all I'm going to do now is I'm going to say the button action. So when someone clicks on this button, what do I want to happen? By default, it's going to have a pop-up element. So basically, when they click on this button, it's going to have a pop-up. But because we haven't configured any pop-ups on this page, all I want people to do is to click on that button and to be scrolled automatically to the top of the page where the form element is. So with my button section selected, I'm going to click on the scroll to element action. And then I'm going to choose the element that I want people to scroll to. So I'm going to click on no element selected, and I'm going to find form. And as you do this, you're going to see how you move across your page. So it's going to help you find exactly where it is, but you're going to only have one form on your page, so it's pretty easy to find it. Once you've selected form, if we preview this and I click on that button, it's going to automatically page. So a very good practice, always save your progress. So click on the save button. And while you're doing that, you can give your page a title and you can give it a description. You can also change the image that should you share this on social media or you share this via WhatsApp, the meta image will actually be displayed based on whatever you put into this image, the social image section. So let's just call our title of our page. Let's just call it David's Sellers. And then a description for the best service in town. And then you can change the social image. You can use an image if it's a page for you. You can use an image of your own face. Or, for example, you can use your brand's image too. So I'm going to just choose this one for now because it's the only one I've got in my library. But if I scroll down, you'll see this is what it would look like on a preview. So if this goes to social, it'll have this image, it'll have this name, and it might have the meta description depending on how long the meta description is. Same for WhatsApp. A preview of the page will look something like this on WhatsApp when you share it with your seller or with your buyer, whomever, with an image and a description of the page based on what it's called. Once you've filled these in, you're going to see a little update SEO here. Click on that. And then again, just click on save one more time, just to make sure your progress is saved. So what we're going to do now is we're going to scroll to the top and we're going to decide what we want people to do or what we want their experience to be like when they fill in this form. So remember, we want to build a two-step landing page. We want a landing page where they come to on this side and we want to redirect them to the thank you confirmation page. So if we click on the form, we can decide what are the actions for when this form is filled in. You can see use action from form builder. So you can also create actions on the form builder that you built in the beginning. But for this purpose, all I'm going to do is just say go to next step. So when we bring in our next step, it's going to automatically push people to that next page. So this is why I said open up your funnel builder in a separate page, because what we're going to do now is we're going to duplicate this page after we've saved it. So we're going to save, and then we're going to publish the page. I'm not going to publish it now, but we can publish the page in order for it to be a live page. And we're going to go back to the back end, and I'm just going to go and go out once so that it refreshes. So let's just go back once. Go back into your funnel, and you'll get a preview of the page that we just built. So to save yourself the effort of having to do this all from scratch, all we're going to do is we're going to clone this, and then we're going to just take out some of the elements that we don't want on the thank you page and replace them with, for example, a thank you message. So I've got my first step selected by default. I'm going to click on clone funnel step, and I'm going to click on this button, clone step in this funnel. And now you're going to have a seller opt-in copy. So basically a clone of the first page. So again, what we want to do is we want to update the name of this page so that it doesn't have a name like seller opt-in clone. You can rename this, as I showed you earlier, with, for example, seller opt-in thank you. But remember, your client doesn't see the naming convention that you're using here. So what we're going to do then is we're going to go back to our page builder here, and we're going to just give this a quick refresh, and then we'll be able to select the next page. Because if you click here, you can see there's no extra steps. So what I want to do now is I'm going to just refresh my builder just so that it picks up that cloned page. And once it does, we're going to log into that cloned page in a second. There we go. So what we want to do now is our page has been saved. Everything is still here as we left it. Let's just confirm that we want this form redirect to go to the next step, which is correct. So if we look here, people are sitting here right now, and the next step is the one just below it. So they're going to go into the seller opt-in clone. So what I want to do now is I'm going to toggle here, and you can see there's the second page that I created. So if I select that now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to just change that message that they land on the second time to something like, thank you very much, we'll be in touch. And then perhaps a link to your listing page on your website. So as that page builder loads, we're going to then just update and remove certain things. So you can see it's exact replica of that first page. So what I want to do now is I'm going to just change this from, do you want to know what a buyer would pay, to thank you, and something like, we'll be in touch. We can remove the bulleted list now. We can remove our form. And we can also remove this so that our whole section here takes up the full space. So I'm going to remove that column, and I'm going to now change this from a left aligned to a center aligned. We can potentially keep the testimonials if we want to. However, you don't have to. You can, for example, replace this with, because you're a seller, you may also be a buyer. So let's just, let's duplicate this. And I'm going to say, because you're a seller, you may also be a buyer. Then a qualifier for that one. So subheadline, and we're going to say, view my latest listings by clicking on the form below. So what I want to do now is I'm going to just drag this element to the top now. I don't need it there anymore. And I'm going to change the redirect, and I'm going to change the text on that button. So just go up and then just push it underneath where you want it to go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my button again, and I'm going to change the text to, I want to find out more, to, I want to see your listings. Remember to change the action for when this button is clicked. So instead of scroll to element, I'm going to change that to URL. So website URL. So this is going to be an external link to your website. So let's just do website URL. And for the purposes of the demo, we're going to just choose, for example, we're going to just use google.com. But this could be a redirect to your website where your listings are on that website. So for example, luxliveproperty.com/Marusha or /Joelle, whomever. So whatever your listing URL is, where all your listings are, that's the URL that you're going to put in here. You can also see open in a new tab if you want people to still be on this page, but then open in a new tab. So you can toggle that on and off by clicking on this little switcher at the bottom right of your screen. Once you're happy with that, you're going to click on Save. And if you want to then preview your pages and test your pages, what we're going to do then is we're going to go back to our builder. We're going to go to the seller opt-in to make sure that our form behaves the way we want it to behave and that our page does what we've asked it to do. So we're going to click on View Page. So you can see this is the page that we built. Remember, if they're on a mobile device, it takes a little bit longer to scroll to the bottom here. If I click on this blue button, it should push me to the top, which it does, back to the form element. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my details here. Phone number, address, and then Victoria. I can select agree. And if I click on submit now, I should be taken to this thank you page. So let's just test this. Click on submit now. You can see there it says, thank you, we'll be in touch. And because you're a seller, you may also be a buyer. And if I click on this button, it should just take me straight to Google now. So all the elements of our form and our landing page works pretty well. And if you want to make any edits or changes, you can always come back in. Remember, sites, funnels, select the funnel that you created, and then update the steps by clicking on the edit button, open a new tab. You can change these elements however you want to change them for your purposes. Okay, so if you're happy with your page and you want to potentially clone this full funnel, you don't want to go through that process of creating page after page for individual agents, you can come back to the steps here, go back, and we can clone that entire funnel and rename it to agent 2, for example. So Sue's sellers in this example. So let's just click on find our funnel that we want to clone, click on these 3 little dots, and we're going to click on the clone button. And then we're going to basically put it into a funnel name. So we're going to choose maybe Sue's sellers. Take out the copy. You won't see this when you do it, so it will automatically go into your account. If I click on confirm, it's going to duplicate that full funnel, but now you're going to just obviously change the text and the headlines if you want to make a little change to it or images. Bear in mind too, you can see there's Sue Sellers. What you're going to do now is you're going to go back to your form builder. And if the form, you were happy with that form and you don't want to recreate a form from scratch, you're going to see David's Sellers form right here. And same thing applies. You're going to be able to duplicate that form and rename it to Sue's Sellers now. Click confirm. So now we've got David Sellers and we've got Sue's Sellers. If you made any adjustments to the confirmation message on that form or the acknowledgement and notifications, just make sure that you come back into the form quickly and you just change the email notifications or the email autoresponder to suit Sue's voice, and to also make sure that Sue gets the notification and not David. Once you've done that, you click on save and you can go back. And then once you've cloned that funnel, so let's just go back to that funnel again, and we'll open Sue's this time. Sue's Sellers. You'll see the steps will be exactly the same. They'll look exactly the same. But what we're going to want to do now is we're going to click on edit in a new tab. I'm going to close this one for now. And of course, you're going to make changes to the text if you want to. Your testimonials will probably be different from David's, but the most important thing to change is actually the form. So remember, once you've got Sue's form, you want to replace David's form with Sue's form. So you'll see it'll open up everything like it did earlier. I'm going to select the form. And over here, you can see currently selected David Sellers. Click on this drop down and now pick Sue Sellers. We're going to keep the same redirect action, go to next step. But now this form, should someone fill it in, is going to be Sue Sellers and not David Sellers. So make sure that you make that change before you publish, save, and share it with potential clients. Another thing you can do under the SEO metadata, you can change the name from David to Sue Sellers. And you can also change the image if you want to make an image of Sue and not of David or whomever. Click on update, click on save, and click on publish when you're ready and done. Always remember to test your forms and test your pages before sharing with people, just to make sure that the right look and feel and the right flow exists, and that you can be sure that when you send it to someone, they are going to have a very good experience with your landing page. Once you've built your form, you've connected it to your funnel, and you've optimized your funnel for lead capture, what you may want to do, and which is a good suggestion, is to create a very basic workflow so that you can tag your sellers, you can update the assignments to you, and you can also add people to your pipeline. So as we mentioned in previous trainings, your pipelines are under the opportunities menu item on the left-hand menu here. So to get into the workflow builder, you're going to scroll down to automation, workflows, and let's go ahead and create a brand new workflow for ourselves for David and Sue Sellers. So I'm going to create a folder for this, just so that all my stuff is in the same place. So we'll just call this one Sellers Campaigns. Create the folder. And I'm going to just go down alphabetically, probably to the end. Number 2. So there's my Sellers Campaigns. If I click on that, you'll see there's no workflows in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the blue button, create workflow here, or I can create a workflow from here. So let's just click on that one. And then you've got a few recipes that are already pre-built. All you have to really change are some of the conditions, the text in the emails, for example, and maybe some of the cadence between when messages are sent. So you can go through some of these and make yourself familiar with what they do. But for this purpose, I'm going to just start from scratch. So click on Continue. And this is now going to take you into a very powerful workflow builder. This is the main engine behind what Property Funnels does so well. So remember, you're using two parts of your brain here. You're using your left and your right. You're using your creative and you're using your analytical engineering brain at the same time. So your workflow, give it a name just so that you can easily find it. So you're going to call it, in this case, I'll just call it David's Sellers Capture. And I'm going to click on the settings first before I do anything. Click on the settings. And I'm going to just select this Allow Re-entry. This is very useful if you're testing your form and you're testing your workflow, that you can come through this workflow multiple times. If this is checked off, you can only come through once. So you want to make sure that this is switched on. And again, you're going to have seller A this month come through. Maybe they don't convert into something. Next year, they find your page because you ran another ad and they come through the same workflow, and you don't want them to miss out on actually being notified by you. And you also don't want to miss out on that notification. The lead will still be in the system, but you still want to make sure that they can go through the flow that you want them to go through. For example, an email, a WhatsApp, etc. So once you've done that, you're going to click on Builder. And we're going to add a new trigger. So the trigger is basically what's going to trigger off all the events that follow. And because our landing page has a lead capture form on it, that is going to be our trigger for this workflow. So click on Add New Trigger. And you can see there's a lot of options on the right-hand side of how you can trigger a workflow to kick off. So the one we're looking for is a form. So you can see if you scroll down here, you can see form submitted. Alternatively, if you know what you're looking for, you can just search by typing in form. We're going to click form submitted. And if we don't create any filters here, every form that's submitted, so this part is very important to create a filter, because if you've got 10 forms for all different things inside your CRM, anytime a form is filled in, they're going to be added to this workflow, which is what we don't want. So remember, choose form submitted. And then by the filters, we're going to select under the filters, form is, and we're going to specify our form. So there's David's Sellers. So the form that we created is already here. Choose that and click Save Trigger. So now my trigger is when somebody fills in David Sellers, it's going to trigger every little step that comes after this. You also don't have to have a workflow in order for leads to be added to your system. So by virtue of them filling in that form, they are already automatically added to your CRM, but you may not know if you don't have a notification set up. It's not going to automatically tag them. It's also not going to automatically message them and add them to, for example, 1, 2, or 3 emails as part of a follow-up sequence. So in this case, I'm going to say when this form is submitted, I first maybe want to apply a tag so that I can easily group my sellers based on what that form is for. So if it's just David Sellers, maybe I just want to create a tag called David Sellers. Perhaps it's a city-specific campaign, and I want to tag them with a city name. I can do that too. So that helps me with my smart lists and where I put my sellers or my clients into specific buckets on my contact database. So form submitted, click on the plus. The next step would be add a tag. So you can see right at the top here, it says add contact tag. So click on add contact tag. And if there are some tags already inside your system, you can pick from them or you can search for them. However, you can create a new tag here. So I'm just going to call this one David's Sellers. And you can see it's not giving me any options that it already exists for me to select. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new tag by doing that. But maybe I want to combine it. So I don't want to have to add tag action, action, action. I can create a tag, for example, for sellers. So now when this form is filled in, the person coming through is going to be tagged David Sellers, and they're going to be tagged seller. Click Save Action. And then what we can do is we can add them to a pipeline stage, because maybe I want to put them into a pipeline so I can easily group and follow up with where people are in my campaigns. So again, click on the plus sign, and you're going to find opportunity. So I can just type in create update opportunity. And I can select the relevant pipeline and the relevant pipeline stage. So I'm going to just call this one valuation of a pipeline. So when they fill it in, they're going to go into that pipeline. And the stage they're going to go to is new leads. And then the name, this would be the name of the opportunity. So it's very useful if you, for example, have, based on what you're collecting, you've got a name, email, phone, and address. What I want to do here is maybe my opportunity name, I want to make it either their address, or I might want to make it their name. So to automate this, that whoever fills in the form, it's going to pre-fill their unique data in the opportunity field name. I'm going to click on our custom values little tooltip here. And I'm going to search for contact, because this is everyone in the CRM. Every client is contact. Click on contact and choose, for example, full name. And then maybe I want to also add their address. So I can see, for example, David Steinberg, 350 Cliff. So I can do contact name, maybe a space. Click on the tooltip again, go to contact, and then scroll down to full address. So this would then have David Steinberg, 350 Cliff Avenue. You can add an opportunity source, for example, too. You can also hard code this. For example, if you know all these people are coming in on Facebook, you can say my opportunity source, when people fill this in, is Facebook. Or, for example, I can go to contact and I can just choose source. That. You can also automatically assign a value to all leads if you want to. For sellers, it's a little bit difficult because every property is worth something else. So it's very hard to put it in as a set amount. That would normally come later when you're managing your pipelines. But for this case, all I'm going to do is I'm going to put in 10,000 Rand like that. I'm going to click on Save Action. So what's going to happen now? The form is submitted. The tag is applied. The opportunity is added to a pipeline, and maybe I want to assign it to me because I'm creating this. I want David's leads to go to David, and I'm David. Or if you're doing this on behalf of an agent, you're going to want to assign these leads to that specific agent. So again, click on the plus, click on Assign to User. And let's make sure we have, luckily we do have a dummy user inside this account. So you would select from all the users that are inside your account. Remember, your users are everyone under settings and my staff. Those would be your users. So you can select more than one person, but for this purpose, I'm going to just select this single user. So save my action. And then here, recap, form is submitted. I'm applying two tags, namely David Sellers and Sellers. And I'm going to add people to a pipeline stage, new leads with their name and their address. And I'm assigning these leads all to David. The next step I want to do is maybe notify David that he's got a new lead with some of the details so that he knows he's got a lead when the lead comes in. And then the last step will be emailing or WhatsApping the client automatically. So I'm going to go down to this little plus sign, and I'm going to create an internal notification. So it's not like an external email, external WhatsApp. This is an internal notification. I want to notify people who work for the business. So I can again just type in internal, and you can see send internal notification. I can choose the kind of notification, for example, email or an in-app notification. So for this purpose, I'm going to just choose email. And then the from name and the from email can be, for example, the account details. So to save your time, I'm going to just click on the tooltip here, and I'm going to go to account name. So this is the sub-account name. So in this account, it would be LuxLiv Property Group. And then the from email would be whatever is configured under the business settings. So account and email. And then to the user type, you can do a few options here. Because we're assigning it to, in this case, we're assigning it to Andre, we want to send this to the assigned user. So I can send this to whoever the assigned user is. In this case, it's Andre. So this notification will go directly to him. And then you just type out your subject. So something like, congrats. You have a new seller lead. I'm going to just copy that, and I'm going to paste that there again. And then I'm going to put in what the details of the lead are. So I'm just going to write out name, email, phone, and address. So below name, I'm going to choose my custom values again. I'm going to go to contact. I'm going to go to full name. Under email, I'm going to go to my custom values. I'm still inside contact, and I'm going to choose email. Under phone, I'm going to go to custom values. See, I'm still inside contact, phone, and then address. Go over to my custom values, still inside contact, and I'm going to choose full address here. So what's going to happen here is you do this part once. So it doesn't matter if 10 people come through. Remember, 10 people have unique names, 10 people have unique emails and phone numbers, and 10 people also have unique addresses. So for each person that fills in that form and goes through this workflow, in this case, Andre, our agent, is going to get an email notification with the unique data of the person who filled in that form. So the name is going to change, the email is going to change, the phone's going to change, and the address is going to change based on what was filled in on the form. So this part is just done once, and you can reap the benefits over and over and over without having to build something like this for each individual lead, because that would just be completely impractical. So once we're happy with this, we're going to click on Save Action. And now maybe what we want to do is we want to make sure that an email from the user goes to our lead, acknowledging and saying, thank you very much, we'll be in touch. So we're going to click on the plus sign, and we're going to send an email. So communication, send email. And maybe what we want to do, instead of having it come from the account, maybe we want this email to come directly from the agent to personalize it a little bit further. So our from name, under our custom values, we're going to choose the user. So these are all the people that are loaded in the system as users and admin. That would be staff members. So we're going to put in the user's details here. So we want name. We're going to say user full name. And then under email, we're going to say user email. And then we can pick a subject line, or we can create our own. We can just say, thank you for your interest. And maybe we want to personalize this for each person that comes through. So it would say something like, thank you for your interest, first name of the person filling in the form. So to get the first name, remember, we go back to our custom value tooltip here. We go to contact, and then we choose, instead of full name, we choose first name. Because it is a bit strange to say, thank you for your interest, David Steinberg, instead of saying, thank you for your interest, David. So choose first name. And then you can copy this, and you can have something similar in the body copy. So maybe what you can do is you can just say, let's just take that out and just acknowledge by saying hi. So just say hi, contact first name. Thank you for your interest in my services. Remember, this is coming from the user. I'll be giving you a call soon from this number. So I want to pre-fill the agent's number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go now to the custom values. I'm going to go back to user, and I'm going to choose phone. So this would be the phone number of the agent. Whoever's assigned to this lead, in this case, it's Andre. He's assigned to this lead, so this would be his phone number. So again, this helps you when you're cloning this for other people, for other agents, or you're doing it for different purposes, but you don't want to rebuild these things from scratch. This is the longest it takes you right from the scratch, from the start. Everything else after that, you can just tweak and change whoever the assigned user is. So you don't have to rebuild these things over and over, because you can also duplicate workflows. Okay. If you want the email signature, because it's an email of the user displayed, you can then go break a line here, go back to your custom values. You're still inside user, scroll down to signature. So this would be the email signature of the user assigned to the lead. So if in this case it's Andre, this would be Andre's email signature. Click on Save Action. Remember to always save your progress. And if you are ready and you think it can work, you can click on the Publish button and then go back to your landing page, go back to that form, fill in the form, and see if all the steps were completed successfully, which is why I said when you start, always hit Settings and make sure you've got Allow Re-entry switched on. Go back to the builder. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to test this form by switching it on, the workflow. Click on Publish, click on Save. Go back out of workflows to the form. So you can see there's our campaign. And I'm going to go now back to the site section to test my workflow. I'm going to just go straight from the funnel because my form is already there. David Sellers. I'm going to open up that first landing page. And I'm going to fill in my details again. So this time I'm going to just give my full name, my full address, and my city is Victoria. And I agree here. Let's just make a slight difference because I think I might already be in that CRM. So it's something that we could easily spot. I'm just going to change my email address with a +77 behind it to make it a unique email address. Click on Submit. And if we go back to the CRM and we go maybe to contacts, we can see if our submission was successful. Let's just search for that email address. You can see there's our email address, and our last activity is right now. Remember, on our workflow, we also applied some tags. So there's the tag David Sellers, and then this one should be seller tag. So it looks as though my workflow worked correctly as it should. If we click into the contact record, we should also see an email going to this client with the email that we created inside our workflow builder. And it should also be assigned to the user Andre Davids. So you can see the owner of this lead now is Andre Davids. So that was successfully applied. And we just wait for the screen to load. We should see an email that went out from Andre to David, acknowledging the filling in of that form. Okay, so what we can see now, if we go into the contact record and we open up this email, you can see it's coming from Andre Davids. It's going to the client, David.Steinberg +77, and there's our email saying, "Hi, David. Thank you for your interest. I'll be giving you a call soon from this number." And then this number is the number of the user, Andre Davids, inside the system. So when the client David gets this email, he knows to look out for your number or the number of the agent that is assigned to this lead. if we go to the conversation section, we can see, did Andre get an email notification to say that he has a new lead with that specific information in terms of his name, his email, his phone number, as well as his address. So you can see there's the email that was sent to the client, David. There's the email that was sent to the user. So if we click on Andre David as the user, let's see if the email went to him. There's the email sent today on the 5th of March. Congrats, you have a new seller lead. And if we click on that email, we should be able to see what the contents of the email looks like, how the user would experience that notification. So there we go. Congrats, you have a new seller lead. That's the name, that's his email, that's his phone number, and that's his address that he provided to us. So that's how you set up a very simple but effective workflow. Now, if we want to do the same for Sue, but we don't want to have to rebuild the whole thing for Sue, we're going to change the form and the user assigned to that lead, and then perhaps even a tag. So we can scroll down again, back to automation. We're going to go to our sellers folder, and we're going to click on clone for that workflow. Sellers campaigns. And then here by David Sellers capture, all I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on these 3 dots here. And I'm going to click on duplicate workflow. And I'm going to change the name from David Sellers to Sue's Sellers. And then click on create. And it's in draft mode. So what we're going to do is we want to open it up and change a few things. And then obviously we're going to just change the form, the tag, and the assigned agent. And that's the only extra piece of work that we need to do for sellers, for Sue's sellers. So now at the top, we're going to click on form submitted. And we're going to change it from David Sellers to Sue's sellers. Save trigger. Tag. We're going to change it from David Sellers, and we're going to change it to Sue's Sellers. Add tag, save action, and then under the assigned user, we're going to change it from David to Sue. And then because we don't have a Sue in here, we would select Sue from our users here. So let's just keep Andre in there for now. Save action. And then because this is essentially now assigned to Sue, the notification will go to Sue, and the email will come from Sue to the client. Remember to click on publish and save.